Alright, let's talk about these Pioneer Marine speakers. I got two I brought out with me. The first set is a TSMR 1640. That is their 6.5-inch speaker system, which are the ones you're looking at. And we also have the 2040. The 2040 is their oversized, their 7-inch, I'm sorry, not 7-inch, 8-inch speaker system. So they go from 6.5 to 8. Those are your two choices. Now, first off, let me start out by telling you what they say they are. Then I'm going to tell you what they really are. Now, like I said, a 6.5-inch, they're water resistant. Now, in their wording, they use a lot of that, water resistant. Be careful when you hear water resistant, anybody, because your boat is not water resistant. Your boat is waterproof, right? Okay. I'll get back to that point in a second. Now, they have what's called a PEI semi-dome tweeter. I'll show you what that's all about. Now, notice that it's metallic. Okay, so I'm going to come back to that as well in a second. The long term for the tweeter is polyetherimide. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Polyetherimide, PEI semi-dome tweeter, which is confusing wording to me because I've never heard of that. Then they got, water-resistant rubber surrounds, which is just this piece here, which handles the excursion on the outside of the woofer cone. And by the way, the cone on this is pretty rigid, which is a good point for the speaker. What that's going to do is that's going to help you obtain good, clean, accurate sounding mid-range sound. Now again, corrosion-resistant mounting hardware. That's a joke. Alright. If this was true marine grade stainless, they would really have like a goldish hue to them. You could tell when you're looking at something. When I put my magnetic drill bit to this, it picks it up. So what does that tell you? That tells you that you're not dealing with marine grade hardware, which also might relate to the reason why these speakers cost around $70 too. Now, the sensitivity on these speakers are 91 decibels. That's very good. And that's pretty hard to find because most other speaker systems that are comparable in size, price, features are going to be a little bit lower than that. The frequency response, like most speakers, 30 hertz. Yeah, right, that's subsonic, to 30,000 hertz. They're 2 and 3/16 mounting depth. So from the very top to the back end of that speaker is 2 inches and 3/16. The cutout from side to side for the hole that you're going to have to actually create in the boat to mount that is 5 1/16. And of course they say that they have a 1-year warranty. I can tell you for a fact, as someone that sells this stuff on a daily basis, that pretty much when the SKU becomes obsolete or at the end of the year, which is a dirty little secret, nobody will really ever tell you the truth. I do. In some cases it makes me very popular with people, and in other cases it makes me very unpopular. But you know what? I don't care, because I tell you the truth, and you watch my reviews, and that's what I give to you people. I give you the solid truth. So, you know, of course I'll tell you the good, I'll tell you what it is, but I'll also tell you the bad. And that's really the purpose of having a review, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. So, let's just take a closer look at these speakers. Like I said, these speakers, you know, we sell them for around $70-odd. It's pretty cheap, especially for anything in the marine world. $70-odd, I mean, that's nothing. So, the first thing is, I brought a Clarion speaker, which is comparable. Look at the color. The Pioneer looks like it's been sitting out in the sun for about 8.5 years. It doesn't look very sexy. The design is very antiquated. It's got this weird looking blue ring around the outside. I mean, ugh. It ain't very easy on the eye. I don't think. Yeah. Now again, same price point, not to be unfair. Look at a Clarion speaker. There's your Pioneer. There's your Clarion. Now, I know that in my boat is white. The gel coat is shiny white, and it looks beautiful. Do I want to put this color on my boat? Probably not. Now, you could tell. Just look at the surround on this speaker. Much wider, which means it's going to give you more excursion. This one, not so much. This one, stiffer cone, Clarion. It's rigid, but it's not as stiff as a Pioneer. Not as much as I'd like to see. Now, just for your own reference, on my own boat, I use the older Infinity 602Ms on my boat because they were white. Now they're chrome and they're kind of weird looking. I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they did that, but in my opinion, I really like the Infinities. They sound great, especially for a boat. I mean, it's not like you have a whole lot of choices out there. I've never really been a big fan of Kenwood speakers or Alpine or any of them things. Or Sony, God help you if you buy those things. Now, looking at the back, again, I mean that color. I mean, I can't get over that. It's just so ugly. It looks like the Pioneer's been smoking cigarettes for the last 15 years. And now, look at the tinsel leads that come off the speaker. I'm going to try my absolute best to focus on this thing. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen today. My little lens is getting fixed. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that it's basically just the woven tinsel, right, that's going to the cone. And you can look over at the Clarion, and you can clearly see that they actually put a protective sleeve over it. You could also notice the color. This is very bright and shiny, kind of like, I don't know, like some kid you'd see at the flea market with fake gold teeth. And then you got this one here, which you could tell this is not magnetic. This one, however, does have a magnetic property to it. That means rust, green stuff in a couple years down the road, even more yellow looking than it does today. The cast basket, it's, I know you can't hear it or feel what I'm feeling, but this, it's just kind of got that ting-tang kind of thing going on to it. The basket on these Clarions it's stiff, it's rigid, it's solid. It sounds more manly. And I know it does because I've seen and heard Clarion speakers over the years many times. Same thing for Pioneer, so it's not like I'm just saying this because it sounds good. Pioneer, in my opinion, they sound exceptionally good in the mid-range. I think that they falter a lot in the lower frequencies. I think that pretty much anything under 300 hertz, they really just kind of destroy themselves. And they just don't sound clear. They can't take the power. With like most brands, like the JBLs, the Infinities, again, even Kenwoods, they can handle a lot more low-end frequencies than these can. And a lot of times, guys who have boats don't have subwoofers. I mean, if they do have the luxury of a sub, they can put on a high-pass filter and not have to deal with that with these kinds of speakers. But if you're not blessed to have an external amp in a sub, you're going to be relying on these, just running all your sound free air and using the boat as an enclosure. The Pioneer is going to disappoint. I'm sorry. Something like this one, even the Clarion, much better. The tweeter on, say, something like this Clarion, you can see it's designed and constructed a little better. Even the glue that they use as the materials to comprise the components of the speakers, much better. And it sounds not harsh and like brash, you know. The Pioneer, it can definitely get a lot tinny, and it's not like a good kind of tinny. It's definitely not good. I mean, I can understand why Pioneer may have made the tweeter that way because they feel if you're flying through the water, you know, all you're going to hear is the ch anyway. But you know, a little okay, but I don't know, man. I want a little bit more. And I can tell you from my own real-life experience owning the Infinity speakers, I also have some Clarion products in my other. They perform a lot better. But again, dollar for dollar, you know, hey, it's your money. You get whatever you want to get. The Pioneer says that 30 watts nominal power, which is kind of like a girly rating, on a bad day, I know for a fact that those Clarions over there will handle about 45 watts. Those Pioneers are going to struggle, especially if you're only using the power from a standard radio receiver, which is distorted to begin with. You put it on top of 4 of these speakers, you're going to have a whole lot of distortion going on. If you're using an external amplifier in these Pioneer speakers, and you have a couple crossovers, I'd say you honestly would be very satisfied with the Pioneer speakers. You can be. But me personally, I can't be happy with the looks of this. To me, I just think that that's ugly. What were you thinking? And if you're going with the 6.5, the grill covers all the screws and stuff, right? Now take a look at the 8-inch version. the 8-inch version, the screws are exposed. Not that that's a bad thing, but the bad thing about those 8-inch is that the grill is not detachable. I mean, I personally am a clean freak on my boat, and when dust and dirt and all kinds of nasty bugs crawl on there and get underneath that grill, you're gonna want to clean those out. That's gonna happen with the 6-inch. But if you got those, good luck with that. It ain't gonna happen. So that's why, again, I brought this Clarion, because it's a fair assumption, because that's an 8-inch. This is a 7-inch. This here is a 6.5. So the 7-inch is about as close as I'm gonna get. And you know, again, the grill comes off. The screws are mounted behind the scenes, so it gives you a much more smooth flowing look. And I guess that's why Clarion sells 10 to 1 on anything else. You can see why. But hey, you make your own decisions. I've done my part. So that's my take on the Pioneer 1640 MRs and the 2040s.